Hello, my name is Yeva from simplyyeva.com, and today I would like to share some grammar teaching tips with you. I know that grammar is difficult for a lot of ESL students, and sometimes the teachers do not know how to teach it or are bored with teaching. So I made a little PowerPoint presentation that shares a few tips and tricks and resources. And I'm sharing the screen with you so that you can see it too. All right, so here it is. Grammar Teaching Tips for ESL Teachers by me, Yeva Grossless. So today we will review a few things. First of all, we're going to talk about what is inductive versus deductive grammar teaching. Then the second topic will be the context. The third one is all skills approach, how to teach grammar holistically. The fourth one is activities, and the fifth one is games. As they say, the best for last. So I am going to dive in right away into inductive versus deductive teaching. What does it mean? Inductive teaching allows the students to discover grammar rules by themselves. Okay, for example, the teacher would give them a reading passage and ask them to pay attention to certain words or structures and see if the students can discover the pattern. This kind of teaching can be done with any kind of tenses, with any kind of adjectives, with any kind of grammatical structure in general. Now, when they also can notice a word formation, for example, for present simple tense, third person singular has an S at the end of the word. Also, comparative and superlative adjectives. Basically, the whole point is that the students try to figure it out and see the pattern for themselves with leading by the teacher, as opposed to the deductive teaching, which is more standard and with which we are all much more familiar, I think. Deductive teaching means that the teacher goes over the rules, the teacher gives the examples, and the students do the worksheets where they apply the rules. It does have its advantages because some grammatical structures do not lend themselves very well to inductive teaching. However, when it is teacher-centered, students may not perceive the value in learning it, and it may take much longer for them to internalize the rules. The next tip for teaching grammar is providing context. So when you teach rules in isolation, they don't give much meaning. And teaching rules or grammar in context is much more effective. What do I mean by context? You can take any songs, movies, or videos. You can take short stories, cartoons, anything that has content, and see if you can dissect the grammatical structure within those activities or resources. You can also do mini grammar lessons in your other type of lesson, okay? So, for example, if you have to read a social studies text and the main goal of the lesson is to find out the reasons or causes of a certain revolution, and the students keep not understanding a concept, you can jump right in and do a little mini grammar lesson for them to clarify. That way it will stick much more than just taking a pure grammar concept and plugging it in somewhere where it doesn't mean anything to them. So here are some grammatical structures that you can cover with the activities, okay? So you can do any kind of tense, past, present. You can do prefixes and suffixes, which is, more morphology, but they also, especially when it comes to tense formation, morphology is important. Articles, phrasal verbs, and many more. Another important thing to do when teaching grammar is to incorporate all skills. What I mean is that we have 4 domains of language: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And in order for us to internalize the grammatical structure or form, we have to practice it in different modalities. We have to hear it, we have to be able to say it correctly. When we read, we need to recognize it, and when we write, we have to apply it in our own work. So here's an example of how you can use this, okay? So if you take a song, and you can incorporate listening, reading, and writing with songs. First of all, you pick a song that is appropriate for your students. Then you want to identify the target grammar that you want them to learn. Do a basic gap fill exercise. Remove the words or phrases that are examples of that grammar pattern. And then when students are listening, you can have them fill it in. Of course, you can have a classroom discussion before and after, review the vocabulary, and take as much time as you need to do. And the students, depending on their level, might need to listen more than once. Another activity that you can do with songs is speaking and writing. You can have a discussion about the song. Some of them have topics that lend themselves easily to discussions. And the students can also work in groups and respond to the song or rewrite it, but this would be more for higher level proficiency. Other activities that you can do with grammar would be watching movie clips. Sometimes watching a full movie is not very feasible in the classroom, so taking a small scene, a small clip allows you to tailor grammar instruction to your students. The students can create dialogues with target grammar. Also, you can give the students a script and have them discuss the grammar pattern used in the script. The students can also create a comic strip based on the movie clip, and in the speech bubbles, they would use the target grammar structure. Short stories are super, super fun, and a lot of students, regardless of age, love a story. Stories allow them to incorporate reading and vocabulary and to deconstruct the grammar. You can use the stories for discussion of the grammar. You can have the students create new products with the grammar, such as alternative endings to stories. I know that this is an activity that my students love very much. And finally, games. Who doesn't love a game? And games can be incorporated in teaching grammar as well. First of all, I already talked about this in my other blog posts, and the beach ball toss can be used for any review, including grammar. So here's how it goes. With a marker, you write down the tasks or sentences with the target grammar, toss the ball to a student, and ask them to read the task on the ball that is under their thumb or any other finger that you decide that they should use. The student either explains the structure or uses an own sentence or whatever task you want the student to perform with the target grammar structure. He or she should do that. This is, like I mentioned, is very good for review, including grammar. The next game that I highly recommend is I Have, Who Has. This is adaptable to any age group, which is amazing. And so if you haven't played it before, here's what you need. One set of cards, and on those cards you can review and you can have written a particular grammatical structure. Each card should connect to the next card. So on the first card you would have a topic. I have, for example, present perfect, and who has a sentence that uses the present perfect. So each student should get at least one card, but if you have more cards than students, it's okay for students to have 2. The game continues until you reach the very first card again. And also, if you have a discussion, you can have a discussion if a mistake occurs, and this leads to more internalizing of grammar. Like I mentioned, this is a more inductive way of learning grammar. Finally, we have Slap. This is the game that I learned about quite recently when I went to a workshop, and it is so much fun, especially to review grammar. So you will need fly swatters. You will need papers with target grammatical structures, and those papers can be either on sticky notes or you can put them in a bag and attach a magnet. But the point is that you can stick those papers either on a whiteboard or on a wall. Then you split the classroom into 2 teams. Each team lines up and the person in front gets the fly swatter. You can ask a question and the answer to the question should be stuck on the board or on the wall. Students race to slap the correct answer. The first person to slap it correctly wins a point. And if nobody slaps anything correctly, they don't get a point. But if you slap a word or a phrase or a grammatical structure that is incorrect, your team loses a point. And then the game continues until there are no more questions left. Here are some resources that I mentioned in terms of songs, short stories, and the next slide will show you the movies. Another Day in Paradise by Phil Collins allows you to teach present simple tense, and also it lends itself to a great discussion. All of Me by John Legend has a really nice lyrics to it, and it's easy to follow. Also, it has phrasal verbs. Don't Give Up by Bruno Mars, again, simple present. Short stories that students enjoy generation from generation is Gift of the Magi and Lamb to the Slaughter. Cartoon makers, I mentioned in one of the slides that you can make cartoons with the grammatical structure. So Storyboard That and MakesBelievesComics.com provide you with the tools that you can have to make the comics. And the movies that I've used successfully are Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Again, it goes across generations, holds and pay it forward. So now your turn. I hope you found this presentation useful, and I would like you to take a few steps. First of all, I would love it if you subscribed to my YouTube channel. Also, go to simplyeva.com and check out the ideas I have provided there. If you haven't signed up for my free resource library, feel free to do that, because I have the All of Me lesson plan on phrasal verbs right there. And finally, follow me on social media, Facebook page, Facebook group, or Instagram. I hope that you found this presentation useful. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Again, I will link the links that I mentioned in this video below. And I am hoping that you will come back and see me for my next video. Thanks for watching.